Yes, Philly was the worst. Ben Chapman was quite vicious. He wasn't only vicious as far as black people are concerned. I think he was anti-everything.
In 1947, Jackie Robinson changed history by becoming the first African American to play in Major League Baseball. He broke the color barrier with incredible courage and strength. Imagine getting hate and even death threats every single day, yet staying calm and strong. His story is about his incredible spirit in overcoming every challenge. During his journey, he encountered many players who made racist remarks, had feuds with him, or who he simply disliked. He has now revealed a list of the 7 players he hates the most. At number 7 on Jackie's hate list is Ben Chapman. Due to his racist actions. Back in 1947, Jackie Robinson was making history as the first black player in Major League Baseball, breaking the color barrier. But not everyone was supportive. Ben Chapman, a former baseball player and manager of the Philadelphia Phillies, is often remembered for his controversial actions toward Jackie Robinson. He was a talented player in the 1930s and 1940s. However, his offensive behavior and public displays of prejudice overshadowed his career and left a mark on his legacy. Chapman hadn't suddenly become racist when Jackie Robinson arrived. Even before Robinson broke the color barrier in 1947, Chapman had a history of vile behavior. While playing for the New York Yankees in the 1930s, he reportedly made Nazi salutes and shouted hateful remarks at Jewish fans in the stands. When Jackie Robinson joined the Brooklyn Dodgers in April 1947, Chapman was the manager of the Philadelphia Phillies. On April 22, 1947, when the Phillies played against Robinson's team, Chapman did something that shocked even other baseball players. He stood in the dugout and yelled the most horrible things you can imagine at Robinson. Chapman called Robinson terrible names like snowflake and many worse words that we can't even repeat. He also made disgusting comments about Robinson wanting to be with white women. Chapman didn't stop there. He told Robinson's teammates that they would get sick if they used the same towels or combs as Robinson. Chapman even told his pitchers that when they had a chance to walk Robinson, they should hit him with the ball instead. The abuse was so bad that one of Chapman's own players, Lee Hanley, apologized to Robinson and told him that not everyone on the team agreed with what Chapman was doing. Chapman came from Alabama in the early 1900s, when racist ideas were very common in the South. But that doesn't excuse what he did. Chapman himself later said he thought being mean to opposing players was just part of the game and might help his team win. Jackie Robinson himself said that Ben Chapman was perhaps the most vicious of any of the people in terms of name-calling, and that Chapman wasn't only vicious as far as black people are concerned. I think he was anti-everything. Chapman's behavior was so bad that fans wrote angry letters to the baseball commissioner demanding that Chapman be punished. Famous radio host Walter Winchell called for Chapman to be thrown out of baseball. The commissioner had to issue a special order telling the Phillies to stop making racist comments. Chapman was forced to pose for a fake friendly photo with Robinson, which Robinson later said was one of the hardest things he ever had to do. Chapman was fired as manager the next season and never managed a major league team again. Even years later, when Chapman was an old man, he still used offensive words when talking about black people, showing he never really changed his racist views. Chapman's legacy proves that being talented at sports doesn't make someone a good person, and his name will forever be remembered alongside the worst examples of racism in American sports history. Because Jackie was fighting for black people and faced many challenges, Chapman is the most hated person on his list. At number 6, we have Enos Slaughter. Jackie Robinson and Enos Slaughter had a strained relationship due to an unfortunate incident during a baseball game in 1947. Enos Slaughter was a really good baseball player from North Carolina who played for the St. Louis Cardinals in the 1940s and 1950s. But Slaughter is also remembered for something much worse, his terrible treatment of Jackie Robinson, the first black player in Major League Baseball. When Jackie Robinson joined the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947, some players didn't want to play against him because he was black. Slaughter was reported to be one of the main leaders who tried to get his Cardinal teammates to refuse to play games against Robinson and the Dodgers. He and another player named Terry Moore allegedly tried to convince their whole team to go on strike. The strike never actually happened because other players wouldn't go along with it. But the fact that Slaughter even tried to organize it showed how much he hated the idea of black players in baseball. Slaughter wasn't just trying to keep Robinson out of baseball. He was also one of the players who yelled racist insults at him during games. The worst thing Slaughter did happened on August 20, 1947, during a game between his Cardinals and Robinson's Dodgers. In the 11th inning, Slaughter hit a ground ball to Robinson at first base. Robinson caught the ball and put his foot near the base to get Slaughter out. But instead of just running to first base normally, Slaughter stepped hard on Robinson's foot with his metal spikes. These spikes were sharp pieces of metal on the bottom of baseball shoes that could really hurt someone. Slaughter's spike cut a deep gash in Robinson's leg that was 7 inches long. Robinson was bleeding and in a lot of pain, but he stayed in the game because he didn't want to give up. Robinson said after the game, "All I know is that I had my foot on the inside of the bag. I gave Slaughter plenty of room." Robinson later wrote in his book that Slaughter deliberately went for my leg instead of the base and spiked me rather severely. Even Slaughter's opponents knew something was wrong. Eddie Stanky, who played second base for the Dodgers, said right after the game, "Slaughter deliberately spiked Robinson. I always had the highest regard for Slaughter. He is one of the keenest competitors I know, and I admire him for it. But that was the first time he spiked someone deliberately. I've lost all my respect for him." Slaughter always said he didn't spike Robinson on purpose. He claimed that people only accused him because he was a Southern boy from North Carolina, where racist ideas were common back then. Years later, Slaughter shared a story that revealed Robinson always remembered what took place. About 2 years after the spiking incident, Slaughter hit a single and tried to turn it into a double. Robinson, playing second base, caught the ball from the outfield. Instead of tagging Slaughter's leg like usual, Robinson swung around and hit him in the mouth with the ball in his glove. Slaughter said, "6 of my teeth flew out, there was blood everywhere, and I needed gum surgery later." As Robinson walked away, he said, "I told you I'd remember." Slaughter's racist actions tarnished his reputation, delaying his Baseball Hall of Fame induction for 20 years. When inducted in 1985, he acknowledged his difficult reputation and the spiking incident as reasons for the delay. At number 5 is Sal Maglie, a dominant pitcher nicknamed the Barber for his knack for throwing pitches uncomfortably close to batters' chins. Jackie Robinson disliked Maglie due to the fierce rivalry between their teams, the Dodgers and Giants, and Maglie's aggressive pitching style. The trouble started on April 30, 1951, during a game between Maglie's New York Giants and Jackie Robinson's Brooklyn Dodgers. Robinson had already hit a home run earlier in the game, and when he came up to bat the second time, Maglie threw a fastball right at his chin. This was typical for Maglie, as he often aimed to intimidate batters. But Robinson was smart and got his revenge. On the next pitch, Robinson laid down a bunt toward first base. Instead of running straight to first base like normal, Robinson waited and watched Maglie run off the pitcher's mound to field the ball. When Maglie bent down to pick up the ball, Robinson ran right into him like a football player. The collision sent Maglie flying into the dirt, and both players got really mad. Following this incident, Ford Frick, president of the National League, sided with Maglie, criticizing Robinson for his behavior and warning the Dodgers to keep him in check. Robinson fired back by saying, "Let Mr. Frick change the color of his skin and go out there and hit against Maglie." This statement made some believe Maglie targeted Robinson because of his race. Maglie, however, claimed he never intended to hit batters, only to intimidate them. Over his career, he hit only one batter every 5 games he started. He said batters expected him to pitch close, and he didn't want to disappoint them. But Robinson's side story mentions that Maglie was also engaging in racism after their fight. Unlike the real racists in baseball, like Ben Chapman and Enos Slaughter, Maglie was not motivated by hatred toward black people. So it seems this might have been more of a misunderstanding from Jackie's side, or perhaps the full story remains unclear to this day. Next, at number 4, we have Dixie Walker, a teammate who started a campaign refusing to play with Jackie. Dixie Walker was a really good baseball player who became one of the most popular players in Brooklyn Dodgers history during the 1940s. But when Jackie Robinson joined the team in 1947, Walker did something that ruined his reputation forever. He tried to keep Robinson off the team because Robinson was black. In spring training 1947, when the Dodgers were getting ready to bring Jackie Robinson up from the minor leagues, Walker got really upset. He didn't want to play with a black teammate, so he started going around to other players trying to get them to sign a petition. The petition said that if the Dodgers promoted Robinson, the players would refuse to play. Walker was the main person behind this petition, and he got some of his Southern teammates to sign it. The petition basically said, "If you promote a black man, we will not play." This was Walker's way of trying to keep Robinson out of Major League Baseball before he even got a chance. When the petition didn't work, Walker wrote a personal letter to Branch Rickey, who was the team's president and general manager. In this letter, Walker asked Rickey to trade him to another team because he didn't want to play with Robinson. Walker basically said he would prefer to leave the Brooklyn Dodgers, the team where he was a star, rather than share a locker room with a black player. Walker later admitted that his racism wasn't really about hating Robinson personally. In an interview years later, Walker said, "I organized that petition in 1947, not because I had anything against Robinson personally or against Negroes generally. I had a wholesale business in Birmingham, and people told me I'd lose my business if I played ball with a black man. Luckily for Robinson and for baseball history, the Dodgers manager Leo Durocher found out about Walker's petition and got really angry. Durocher called a team meeting and told the players, "I don't care if the guy is yellow or black, or if he has stripes like a zebra. I'm the manager of this team, and I say he plays. What's more, I say he can make us all rich." Years later, Walker came to regret his actions deeply. In 1981, he admitted to writer Roger Kahn that organizing the petition was the stupidest thing he'd ever done. He said that people learn and adapt as times change. His petition against Robinson was one of the most shameful moments in baseball history, but at least Walker eventually realized how wrong he had been. At number 3, we have Joe Garagiola, a catcher for the St. Louis Cardinals, who was involved in a heated exchange with Robinson during a game in 1947. When Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in 1947, Garagiola was one of the worst players when it came to racist behavior. The most famous incident happened on September 11, 1947, during a game between Garagiola's Cardinals and Robinson's Brooklyn Dodgers. In the second inning, Garagiola was catching when Robinson tried to score at home plate. Instead of just tagging Robinson out like normal, Garagiola deliberately spiked Robinson's foot with his metal cleats. This was the same kind of rough play Enos Slaughter was known for, using the sharp spikes on his baseball shoes to injure black players. When Robinson came up to bat in the next inning, he was still angry about getting spiked. Robinson said something to Garagiola about what had happened. Instead of apologizing or just ignoring the comment, Garagiola responded with a racial slur, one of those terrible words used to insult black people. This made Robinson even angrier, and they started arguing right there at home plate. The umpire had to step in and hold Garagiola back while Robinson just clapped his hands mockingly at the catcher. Garagiola wasn't acting alone. He was part of a group of Cardinals players who made Robinson's life difficult. Along with Enos Slaughter, Garagiola was considered one of the racist leaders of the team. Both players were guilty of deliberately spiking Robinson as he played first base, which means they would step on him with their spikes whenever they had a chance. What made Garagiola's racism especially bad was that he hit it well. After his playing career ended, he became a popular TV personality known for being friendly and funny. He hosted game shows, appeared on The Today Show, and even announced the Westminster Dog Show. Most people who watched him on TV had no idea about his racist past. Coming in at number 2 is Marty Marion, the shortstop for the St. Louis Cardinals, who was widely regarded as one of the best players at his position. But when Jackie Robinson joined the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947, Marion got caught up in one of baseball's most shameful episodes. He was accused of being one of the leaders of a planned strike to keep Robinson out of baseball. That's why Jackie never liked him as a player. In May 1947, a newspaper reporter named Stanley Woodward wrote a shocking story in the New York Herald Tribune. Woodward claimed that several Cardinals players, including Marion, had planned to go on strike rather than play against Jackie Robinson and the Dodgers. The plan was for the Cardinals to refuse to take the field when they played the Dodgers from May 6 to 8 at Ebbets Field. To make matters worse, the striking Cardinals aimed to persuade players from other National League teams to join their cause. If this had worked, Robinson would have been forced out of baseball, and the color barrier would have stayed in place. Woodward wrote that the conspiracy was led by the team's Southern players, calling them boys from the hookworm belt. Marion's name was specifically mentioned as one of the possible ringleaders, along with Enos Slaughter, Terry Moore, and Harry Walker. Since Marion was from South Carolina and his family supposedly traced back to Revolutionary War hero Francis Marion, writers thought he would be against integration. According to Woodward's story, Cardinals owner Sam Breton contacted National League president Ford Frick and asked him to stop the strike. Frick supposedly met with the conspirators and gave them a stern warning. Marion always insisted that he knew nothing about any strike plans. He called the whole idea stupid and said he never heard such a thing in his life. Marion claimed that while some players might have grumbled about Robinson, there was never any organized plan to refuse to play. At number 1, we have Terry Moore. Jackie Robinson had every reason to dislike him. However, their conflict wasn't as direct or hostile as Robinson's issues with other racist players. Moore was the team captain of the St. Louis Cardinals, and as the leader of his team, he created an atmosphere that made Robinson's life much harder. Robinson understood that Moore's influence over his teammates could make or break how the Cardinals treated him. Terry Moore had been the Cardinals team captain since 1941. which meant all the other players looked up to him as their leader. His teammates called him the father of the ball club and said if we had any troubles or anything, we'd go to Terry. This gave Moore incredible power to set the tone for how his team would treat Robinson, but instead of using his leadership to welcome Robinson or stop racist behavior, Moore allowed his teammates to create a hostile environment. As captain, Moore could have told his players to treat Robinson with respect, but he chose not to. Robinson knew that when the most important player on a team stays quiet about racism, it's almost like giving permission for it to continue. The biggest reason Robinson disliked Moore came from a newspaper story in May 1947 that shocked the whole country. A reporter named Stanley Woodward wrote that some Cardinals players, including Moore, had planned to go on strike rather than play against Robinson and the Brooklyn Dodgers. The plan was for the Cardinals to refuse to take the field when they played the Dodgers from May 6 to 8. Robinson found out through the newspaper that the captain of a rival team was attempting to have him removed from baseball before he even got a fair chance to prove himself. When reporters asked Moore about the strike story, he didn't completely deny it. Instead, Moore said there had been some high-sounding strike talk that meant nothing. Moore and his teammates admitted that they discussed taking action against Robinson, even though they never acted on it. Moore was famous for enforcing what was called the Cardinals Code, which meant being tough and aggressive toward opposing teams. This code included take the extra base, break up the double play, don't even say hello to opposing players. Moore was so strict about this that he wouldn't let me talk to my own brother, said Harry Walker, whose brother Dixie played for the Dodgers. Robinson probably disliked Moore most because of the missed opportunity. Unlike players who were obviously racist from the South, Moore was from Alabama but had grown up in Memphis and St. Louis. He could have been a bridge builder who helped his Southern teammates accept integration. So that's the list of players Jackie Robinson disliked the most, with racism being the primary reason behind it. His struggle against prejudice and his courage in breaking barriers remain an inspiration to this day. If you found this video informative and enjoyed learning about this topic, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating content.